I was still holding my phone when she said, "I'm done talking." "Done?" I asked. "We just started." She turned her face away. "I don't want to fight." "I'm not fighting," I said. "I'm asking why you ignored me all day." Silence. I swallowed. "Can you at least look at me?" She stood up. "You always make everything bigger than it is." "That's not fair," I said. "You disappeared. I worried." She scoffed. "I was busy." "Busy enough to not reply once?" I asked. She walked toward the bedroom. I followed. "This is what you do," I said. "You shut down." "I'm tired," she said. "Can we do this later?" "Later never comes," I said quietly. She stopped and finally looked at me. "Why do you always need reassurance?" "Because I feel alone," I said. "Even when you're here." Her eyes hardened. "That's your issue." Those words landed hard. "My issue?" I asked. "We're married," she sighed. "You're too sensitive." I laughed once, bitter. "So my feelings are the problem now?" She didn't answer. She opened the bedroom door. "Say something," I said. "Please." She stepped inside. "I need space." "You always need space when I need answers," I said. She paused. "I'm not doing this." The door closed halfway. I said, "I keep apologizing even when I don't know what I did wrong." "Nothing." "I love you," I said, "but I'm exhausted." The door closed fully. A click followed. Locked. I stood there staring at the door, my chest tight. I knocked once. "We can fix this." No response. I walked back to the couch and sat down. The room felt too quiet. My phone buzzed, but it wasn't her. I whispered to myself, "Why do I keep begging?" I remembered every time I said sorry just to keep peace. Every time I blamed myself so she wouldn't leave the room. I said out loud, I just wanted to be heard. The ceiling fan hummed. I lay back and stared up. My mind replayed her words. "Too sensitive, your issue." I felt something shift. Not anger. Not hate. Something colder. I said softly, "I can't keep doing this." The house smelled like her shampoo. The couch felt unfamiliar, like it wasn't mine anymore. I closed my eyes and thought, this marriage feels like talking to a wall. I opened them again, wide awake, heart heavy. I sat up and grabbed my phone again. I typed her name, then erased it. I said, "If I message her now, she'd say I'm pushing." I imagined her voice saying, "Why can't you let things go?" I whispered, "Because they never get resolved." My phone screen dimmed. I threw it beside me. I remembered her saying once, "You talk too much about feelings." I answered the empty room. "Someone has to." I stood and paced. "What kind of marriage punishes honesty?" I asked no one. The silence answered better than she ever did. I stopped walking and pressed my palms to my face. "I'm still here," I said. "Why don't you see me?" No footsteps. No door opening. I nodded slowly. "Okay," I said. "I hear you." The clock ticked loudly. Each second felt like agreement. I sat back down, breathing slow, realizing the fight wasn't tonight. It was everything before it. Finally, I woke up before my alarm and listened for movement. Nothing. I walked into the kitchen and said, "Good morning." She didn't answer. She stood by the counter, scrolling on her phone. No glance, no sound. "Did you sleep okay?" I asked. Silence. I opened the fridge. "I made coffee," I said. "It's still hot." She grabbed her bag. "Are you still upset?" I asked. "We didn't finish talking." She walked past me like I wasn't there. I laughed softly. "Wow, not even a word?" The door opened. I followed her. "This isn't healthy." She put on her shoes. "Say something," I said. "Anything." She straightened and said flatly, "I don't want to talk." "About what?" I asked. "Us?" She sighed. "You're draining." Those words stayed with me after the door shut. I sat at the table alone. The coffee tasted bitter. I remembered when she used to argue loudly, crying, yelling, fighting for us. At least she cared then. Now, she punished me with quiet. I whispered, "Silence hurts more than screaming." I checked my phone. No message. No apology. Nothing. I typed, "Can we talk later?" Then deleted it. I said to myself, if I push, I'm the problem. My phone rang. I answered. "Hey." "Bro," my younger brother said. "You sound off." "I'm fine," I said. He paused. "You always say that when you're not." I leaned back. "What do you want?" "I just wanted to check on you," he said. "You didn't reply last night." "Busy," I said. "With her?" he asked. I closed my eyes. "Don't start." He lowered his voice. "Are you okay?" I said I'm fine, I replied. You don't sound fine, he said. You sound quiet. I forced a smile. I'm just tired, he hesitated. You know you can talk to me. I know, I said quickly. I've got to go. I hung up before he could say more. The house felt empty even though she had just been there. I stood and walked to the bedroom. The door was open now, like nothing happened. I touched the bed and said, You can ignore me, but I still exist. No answer. I remembered her laughing once, saying, You're too emotional. I asked the room, Is that a crime? I sat on the edge of the bed. Love shouldn't feel like begging. I checked the mirror. I looked smaller somehow. I said, When did I become invisible? The clock ticked loudly, mocking me. I grabbed my keys and stopped. Why do I feel guilty for wanting connection? I imagined her saying, You're overreacting. I answered out loud, I'm reacting to being erased. I sank onto the couch again. This isn't peace, I said. This is punishment. I stared at the wall and realized something cold. She wasn't angry. She just didn't care enough to fight anymore. That thought hurt the most. I whispered, If silence is your answer, I hear it. The room stayed quiet. For the first time, I understood how lonely a home can be. Even when you're not alone, I picked up her tablet because the electricity bill reminder kept buzzing. I said, I'll just pay it before it cuts off. The screen lit up. A message banner slid down. I froze. I told myself, Don't look. My thumb didn't listen. The name wasn't saved. Just a number. The message read, Did you eat? You sounded tired last night. My chest tightened. I whispered, That's not how you talk to me. I scrolled before I could stop. Another line appeared. I like when you open up. I laughed quietly. Funny, nothing about love, nothing physical. Still intimate. Too gentle, too caring. I said, You never asked me that. I locked the tablet and sat back. My heart raced. I told myself, You're imagining things. Friends talk, coworkers talk. This means nothing. I stood up, then sat down again. My phone buzzed. It was her. She texted, I'll be late. I typed, Okay. I stared at the word, Okay, felt heavy. I picked up the tablet again. I said, Just one more look. I hated myself for it. I opened the chat. Old messages loaded slowly. My hands shook. I miss our talks, she had written. I swallowed. I said, Our? He replied, Me too. I closed my eyes. I remembered her telling me, You don't listen. I whispered, I listen to everything. I paced the room. This doesn't mean cheating, I said. It means connection. That word burned. Connection was supposed to be ours. I imagined asking her. I imagined her face. I heard her voice in my head. You're paranoid. I sat down hard. I said, If I ask, I lose. I heard the door open. She walked in. Hey, she said. Hey, I answered. She smiled at me. The same smile she gave the screen. My stomach dropped. Everything okay? She asked. Yeah. I said too fast. She looked at the tablet. You paid the bill? I nodded. Yeah. Thanks, she said. That was it. No guilt. No fear. Just normal. She walked away. I stayed still. I said quietly, So this is how it starts. I realized something sharp. Truth doesn't always explode. Sometimes it whispers. I decided then. I wouldn't confront. I would watch. Silence had taught me that much. I sat back down and laughed again. Calm down. I told myself. This could be innocent. I pictured her excuses before she spoke them. He's just a friend. You're reading too much. I practiced nodding. I practiced swallowing. My phone buzzed again. She said from the kitchen, I'm showering. Okay, I replied. My voice sounded fake. I stared at the dark screen. I asked myself, when did she start hiding warmth? I remembered mornings when she would say, Did you eat? Now a stranger asked that. I pressed my palms together. This isn't proof, I whispered. It's a warning. I thought about confronting her now. I imagined her laughing. I imagined her turning it on me. You went through my messages? That fear stopped me. I said, Not yet. I stood and placed the tablet back. I told myself, Watch first. Learn. Protect yourself. The shower started. Water drowned the house. I felt alone with the truth. I sat quietly and waited. For the first time, I chose silence. Not hers. Mine. I knew this moment mattered. I wasn't broken yet. But I was bending. I promised myself one thing. I would not beg. I would not accuse. I would observe. Whatever this was, I would survive it. And if truth arrived quietly, I would be ready to hear it. Without running away again. Ever. I noticed the pattern before I admitted it. She started coming home late. I got stuck, she said. Again? I asked. She shrugged. Work. Her phone lit up and she smiled. Not at me. At the screen. Who's that? I asked once. No one, she said too fast. I nodded like I believed her. At night, she turned away. I'm tired, she said. I stared at the ceiling and whispered, so am I. I told myself, don't become suspicious. I told myself, trust her. But trust started feeling like denial. At work, I missed deadlines. My screen blurred. You okay? A voice asked. I looked up. Yeah. My colleague frowned. You've said that 3 times today. I didn't sleep, I said. She pulled a chair closer. Want coffee? Sure, I replied. She handed me the cup. You're shaking. I'm fine, I lied. She studied me. You don't look fine, I sighed. My wife barely talks to me. She nodded slowly. That silence thing? You know about that? I asked. You mentioned it before, she said gently. It messes with your head. I stared into the cup. She smiles at her phone more than she smiles at me. My colleague didn't react. She just said, that hurts. It shouldn't bother me this much, I said. But it does, she replied. Because you care, I laughed bitterly. Caring feels stupid lately, she said. Caring isn't the problem. Being ignored is. I went quiet. She added, don't lose yourself trying to keep someone. I looked at her. What if I already did? She didn't answer right away. That happens, she said. Slowly. On the way home, my wife texted. Running late again. I typed, okay. Deleted it. Typed it again. When she arrived, I asked, dinner? I ate, she said. With who? I asked before stopping myself. She stared. Why would you ask that? Just asking, I said. She rolled her eyes. You're acting weird, I laughed. Maybe I am? She went to shower. Her phone buzzed on the table. I didn't touch it. I just watched it light up. I said to myself, this is what paranoia feels like. But deep down, I knew it was awareness. Later, I said, we don't talk anymore. She replied, you talk too much. That sentence stayed with me. I lay in bed thinking about my colleague's words. Don't lose yourself, I whispered. Who am I losing myself for? I remembered when love felt safe. Now it felt like constant testing. The next morning, she kissed my cheek quickly. I'm late, she said. I stood there alone. I looked at my reflection and said, you look small. I thought about respect, how it used to exist without effort. How love without it feels like begging. At work, my colleague asked, how was last night? I said, quiet. She nodded. Quiet can be loud. I smiled sadly. I think I'm proving something to myself. She asked, what? I answered honestly. That love without respect is humiliation. She didn't disagree. That night, sitting alone again, I admitted the truth. I wasn't searching for proof anymore. Her behavior was the proof, and loving her through it was costing me myself. I waited until dinner was done and the plates were untouched. I said, can I ask you something? She didn't look up. What now? I swallowed. Are you still in this marriage? She laughed, short and sharp. What kind of question is that? A serious one, I said. I need to know. She leaned back. Why are you being so dramatic? I'm not, I said. I'm being honest. She crossed her arms. You're always insecure. That's the real issue. I shook my head. This isn't about insecurity. It always is with you, she said. You overthink everything. I said quietly, I feel like I'm alone even when you're here. She rolled her eyes. Here we go again. I'm not attacking you, I said. I'm asking if you still want this. She stood up. I'm tired of these conversations. Answer me, I said. Please. She faced me. What do you want me to say? The truth, I said. She scoffed. The truth is you're exhausting. That word hurt more than I expected. I'm exhausted too, I said. From chasing you. She laughed. No one asked you to chase. I felt something shift. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, she said. You make problems where none exist. I said, you ignore me. She replied, because you don't know when to stop. I stared at her. So my feelings are the problem again? Yes, she said without hesitation. You're too sensitive. I nodded slowly. You didn't even think before saying that. She grabbed her phone. See? This is why I don't talk. You don't talk because you don't want to, I said. She laughed. You really think you're innocent here? I never said that, I replied. I said I'm hurting. She pointed at me. You hurt yourself with these thoughts, I said. You don't even deny it. Deny what? She asked. Your imagination? I felt my chest tighten. If you cared, you'd reassure me. She said coldly. If you trusted me, you wouldn't need reassurance. That's not how love works, I said. She turned away. I'm done. I followed her. You still haven't answered. She stopped at the bedroom door. I'm here, aren't I? That's not what I asked, I said. She sighed. Why do you always need clarity? Because confusion is killing me, I said. She looked at me like I was a burden. That's not my responsibility. Those words landed hard. I whispered. Then what am I to you? She opened the door. You're impossible. The door closed, not locked. Just closed. I stood there, shaking. I realized then that the question wasn't wrong. The answer was, she never said yes. She never said no. She just made it my fault for asking. I walked back to the living room and sat down. I said out loud, this is gaslighting. The word felt heavy but accurate. I replayed the conversation, every concern twisted, every feeling dismissed. I felt clarity instead of pain. I said quietly, power doesn't always come from winning. It comes from seeing clearly. She thought she had control, but something inside me had already stepped back. I wasn't begging anymore. I was watching. And for the first time I knew I wasn't crazy. I was just finally awake. I met him at a quiet tea shop near the road. He looked at me and said, You look tired. I'm fine, I replied. He smiled. That's what I said before my divorce. I stiffened. I'm not there. He stirred his cup. Neither was I until I was, I said. She won't talk to me. He nodded. Silence is still communication. I keep waiting, I said, for her to change. He asked. How long? I shrugged. As long as it takes. He leaned forward. That's dangerous. Loving someone isn't dangerous, I said. Losing yourself is, he replied. I stayed quiet. He continued. You think staying silent keeps peace. I do, I said. Fighting makes things worse. He shook his head. Silence teaches people they can ignore you. I sighed. What was your mistake? I waited, he said. I thought patience was strength. And it wasn't? I asked. It was fear, he said gently. I looked down. My parents stayed together no matter what. He asked, were they happy? I remembered my mother's quiet sadness, my father's distance. I promised myself I'd never live like that, I said. And yet? He asked, and yet here I am, I admitted. He took a slow sip. Marriage shouldn't feel like punishment, I said. She says I'm too emotional. He smiled sadly. They always say that. What did you do? I asked. I ignored my gut, he said, until I hated myself. That scared me. He added. Love should add dignity, not remove it. I whispered, I'm scared of leaving. He nodded. I was scared of staying. That sentence stayed with me. I said, what if I try harder? He replied, ask yourself why you're the only one trying. I clenched my hands. Because I care. And does she? He asked. I didn't answer. He said softly, silence is a choice. So is walking away. I looked at him. Walking away feels like failure. He smiled. Sometimes it's survival. I leaned back. I don't want revenge. Then don't seek it, he said. Seek peace. I asked, does it ever stop hurting? He paused. It hurts differently, but you sleep better. I thought about the couch, the locked door, the quiet mornings. I said, I don't recognize myself. He replied, that's your warning. We sat quietly. He finally said, whatever you decide for you. I nodded slowly. On the way home, his words followed me. I unlocked the door and stood still. I said out loud, staying silent is still choosing. I thought about my parents, about promises, about respect. I didn't feel angry. I felt calm. I whispered, I won't disappear to keep someone. That night, lying on the couch again, I made a quiet decision, not to fight harder. Not to beg louder, but to stop accepting less than I deserve. For the first time, that choice felt like strength. I sat at the table with the documents spread out and said, so this is what it comes to. The room didn't answer. I picked up the pen and stared at my name. My hand shook. Just sign, I told myself. It's only ink. It didn't feel like ink. It felt like a goodbye. I remembered her voice from years ago. I choose you, she had said. I whispered, I chose you too. The pen touched the paper. I stopped. I said, we promised forever. The paper stayed quiet. I signed once and felt something drop in my chest. That's one, I said. I flipped the page. Another signature line waited. I laughed softly. Why does this feel like a funeral? I remembered our wedding day. She had asked, Are you nervous? I had smiled and said, Only about losing you. I shook my head. I didn't know losing you would happen like this. I signed again. My phone buzzed. She texted, Where are you? I typed, Around. I erased it. Typed it again. I placed the phone face down. I said, You taught me silence. I filled out the date. My birthday month. I noticed and paused. Of course, I muttered. Everything ends where it began. I stood and walked to the closet. Her wedding dress was still there. I touched the fabric. You were so happy, I said. Or you looked happy. I remembered her laughing, saying, We'll never be like those couples. I answered the memory. We didn't fight, we faded. Back at the table, I stacked the papers neatly. I said, I won't confront you. I imagined her response. Tears. Anger. Blame. I said, I'm tired of explaining pain to someone who refuses to hear it. I looked around the house. Every corner held a version of us. I opened the drawer under the TV. Old chargers. Receipts. Things forgotten. I smiled sadly. You never check here. I slid the papers underneath, careful and quiet. I said, This feels right. The front door opened. Hey, she called. In here, I replied. She looked at me. You okay? I nodded. Yeah. She watched me for a second. You're being weird. Am I? I asked. She shrugged. Whatever, I'm tired. She walked past me. I wanted to stop her. I didn't. I let her go to the bedroom. I sat back down and stared at the drawer. I said, You taught me how to disappear. I remembered every apology, every swallowed word. I whispered, This is my last silence. She called from the room. Did you eat? I almost laughed. No, I said. I'm not hungry. That wasn't a lie. I lay back on the couch and closed my eyes. I felt calm. Sad. Certain. I said to the ceiling, This isn't revenge. It's honesty. I imagined her finding the papers one day. Her confusion. Her shock. I didn't feel joy. Just relief. I stood once more and checked the drawer, still hidden. I nodded. Good. I turned off the lights. As I walked away, I said softly, Some things end loudly, others end quietly. This ended the way you taught me. In silence. And for the first time, that silence felt like mine. Days passed slower than usual. I woke up, showered, and said, Morning. Morning, she replied, normal, distracted. I made breakfast. Eggs? I'm not hungry, she said. Okay, I answered. I acted fine. I asked about her day. I listened. I nodded. Inside, I waited. She laughed at her phone. It's nothing, she said before I asked. I didn't ask, replied. She smiled. Good. That word used to scare me. Now at did and single quotes t. At night, she said, You're quiet. I'm just tired, I said. She nodded, satisfied. I lay awake and thought, You don't feel me pulling away. I went to work. I joked with coworkers. All good, I said when asked. For the first time, it wasn't a lie. At home, she talked about plans. We should visit my cousin. Sure, I said. She looked surprised. You don't mind? No, I said, and I meant it differently. Days blurred together. She stayed confident, relaxed, in control. I stopped checking her phone. I stopped waiting for messages. I told myself, stay calm. One night, she said, You seem lighter. I smiled. Maybe I am? She laughed. See? You were overthinking before. I didn't argue. I realized something quiet. My fear was gone. I folded laundry and said, Your blue shirt's clean. Thanks, she said. No tension. No fighting. She thought peace had returned. I knew better. In the mirror, I said, You're not scared anymore. I remembered how anxiety used to live in my chest. Now there was space. She leaned against me on the couch. Movie? Okay, I said. Halfway through, she checked her phone. I didn't react. She glanced at me. You don't care? I trust you, I said. It wasn't a lie. I trusted the truth to surface. She smiled, relieved. That's when I understood the shift. Power isn't loud. It's quiet certainty. I waited for the drawer to be opened. I waited for confusion. I waited without dread. One morning she kissed me goodbye. See you later. See you, I said. The door closed. I whispered, Any day now. I wasn't angry. I wasn't desperate. I was prepared. That calm told me everything. Whatever happened next wouldn't break me. I had already let go. I cleaned the kitchen slowly and said, "You're quiet tonight," she replied. "I'm just relaxed." "Good," I said. She stretched. "Things feel better between us." "They do," I answered. She smiled, certain. "See what happens when you stop pushing." I nodded. "Yeah, I see." Inside, I said, "Keep believing that." I sat on the floor and sorted old papers. "Why do we keep junk?" I asked. She laughed. "You always notice late." I almost smiled. She trusted the normalcy. She trusted my calm. "I trusted time. At dinner," she said. "You're not asking questions anymore." "I learned," I said. She raised an eyebrow. "Learned what?" "When to listen," I replied. She seemed pleased. That's all I wanted. I thought, and I wanted respect. We washed dishes together. "You're different," she said. "I'm honest," I replied. She didn't understand. Before bed, she said, "I love you." I paused. "Okay," I answered. She frowned. "That's it?" "I'm tired," I said. She turned away. In the dark, I whispered, "Any moment now." My heart didn't race. It waited. I knew the quiet before a storm, and I wasn't afraid of it anymore at all now. I heard the drawer open while I was in the kitchen. She said, "What is this?" I didn't move. "You tell me." Her voice shook. "Are these divorce papers?" I leaned against the counter. "Yes." She walked in slowly, papers in her hands. "Is this a joke?" "No," I said. "It's real." Her face drained of color. "When did you do this?" "A while ago," I replied. She laughed nervously. "Why would you hide this?" I said calmly, "Because you taught me silence." She stared at me. "You were planning to leave?" "I was preparing," I said. Her eyes filled. "You didn't even tell me. You never listened," I answered. She dropped the papers on the table. "This can't be happening." I watched her sit down hard. "It is." She looked up. "Why didn't you fight?" "I did," I said. "For years." Tears spilled. "I didn't think you were serious." "That's the problem," I replied. She grabbed her hair. "We can fix this." I shook my head. "I already fixed myself." She stood and paced. "You're being cold." "I'm being clear," I said. She stopped. "You were supposed to talk to me." "I tried," I said. "You locked the door." Her mouth opened, then closed. She whispered, "I didn't know you were this hurt." I nodded. "Because you never asked." She cried openly now. I was stressed. "So was I," replied. She moved closer. "Please don't do this." I stepped back. "I've already done it." She shook her head. "You can't just give up." "I didn't give up," I said. "I let go." She grabbed the papers again. "What about us?" I answered honestly. "I grieved this already." That made her sob harder. She said, "You're acting like I'm already gone." I said quietly, "You were." She looked at me like she finally saw me. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said. "I know," I replied. "That doesn't change the damage." She sat down again. "I thought silence would calm things." "It erased them," I said. She covered her face. "Why didn't you stop me?" I felt nothing rise. No anger. No satisfaction. I stopped myself. I said. She looked up. "Is there someone else?" "No," I replied. "This is about me." She nodded slowly. "I never thought you'd leave." "I never thought you'd disappear," I said. She wiped her tears. "I'm scared." "I was too," I answered. She whispered, "Do you still love me?" I paused. "I care about you." "That's not the same," she said. "I know," I replied. She folded the papers. "So this is it?" "This is honesty," I said. She laughed weakly. "Karma is quiet, huh?" I looked at her. "It doesn't need to scream." She leaned back. "I didn't hear you slipping away." "I slipped quietly," I said, "like you wanted." She closed her eyes. "I wish I could go back." I nodded. "I wish that too." She opened them. "But you're already gone." I said nothing. The silence returned, but it felt different now. It wasn't heavy on me. It was heavy on her. I stood and said, "I'm going for a walk." She didn't stop me. As I reached the door, she whispered, "I finally hear you." I turned. "I know." I stepped outside feeling light. I realized something simple. I wasn't cruel. I was done. And for the first time, clarity felt kinder than hope. I woke to her standing by the couch. "Can we talk?" She asked. "About what?" I said. "About fixing this," she said. "I'm sorry." I sat up. "You've said that before." "I mean it now," she said. I cut him off. "That was easy," I replied. "He's gone," she said. "I blocked him." I nodded. "After the papers." She winced. I panicked. You listened, I said. Too late. She stepped closer. I didn't know how bad it was. I told you, I said. She cried. I hear you now. I hear regret, I said. She shook her head. I love you, I waited. Do you? Yes, she said. I choose us. I stood. You chose silence first. She grabbed my sleeve. Please. Don't, I said. She let go. I'll do therapy. I'll change. I asked, for how long? As long as it takes, she said. I smiled sadly. That's what I said. She whispered. I was scared. So was I said. She wiped her eyes. He doesn't matter. He mattered enough, I replied. She flinched. I was lonely. I was married, I said. She sank onto the chair. Say you'll try. I looked away. Trying kept me small, she said. I'll prove it. I asked, how? I'll be present, she said. I'll answer. I nodded. Answers came when consequences did, she said. Is forgiveness possible? I breathed in. I don't know, she leaned forward. Tell me what to do. I said. Listen without defending. She nodded quickly. I can do that, I said. Respect without conditions. She whispered, I will. I felt the pull. This is the hard part. She asked, what is? Walking away from hope, I said. She said, hope is all we have. No, I said. We have history, she sobbed. History doesn't have to end. Sometimes it does, I said. She reached again. Please don't punish me. I'm not, I said. I'm protecting myself. She stared. So love dies? Love changes, I said. Trust doesn't resurrect. She said, I cut him off today. I know, I said. I saw the message. Her eyes widened. You checked? I checked out, I said. She laughed through tears. That hurts. So did being ignored, I replied. She asked, is there any chance? I paused. There's compassion. Her shoulders lifted. And forgiveness? Maybe, I said. Not today. She nodded. I'll wait, I said. Waiting taught me pain. She whispered, I'll wait anyway. I picked up my keys. I need air, she said. Come back. I will, I said, to decide. She sat quietly. I'm sorry. I turned. I know. Outside, I said to myself, does love survive betrayal? I answered softly, only if respect returns first, and I wasn't sure it ever would. I walked the block, breathing slow. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. I said, guilt isn't love. I remembered our vows, the photos, the applause. I said, promises don't erase choices. I felt compassion rise, then settle. I asked, can mercy live with boundaries? I answered, it has to. I thought of mornings lost, nights locked, words swallowed. I said, forgiving doesn't mean returning. I checked the sky. If we try again, I whispered. Who am I betraying? The answer came quietly. Myself, I exhaled. Not today. I turned back, steady. Whatever I chose, it would be clean. I wouldn't rush, wouldn't punish, wouldn't pretend. I would decide with respect, or I would leave with dignity. That was the only love I could offer now. Today. I stood in the doorway and said, I've made my decision. She looked up. Already? Yes, I said. I don't need more time. Her voice trembled. Please tell me you're staying. I shook my head. I'm leaving. She stood. After everything? Because of everything, I replied. She said, you promised you wouldn't give up. I promised to love, I said, not to disappear. She stepped closer. I'm changing. I believe you, I said. That doesn't change me. She whispered, you're punishing me. No, I said. I'm choosing myself. She laughed through tears. That sounds selfish. It's survival, I replied. She asked, what about forgiveness? I forgive you, I said. I just won't stay. Her shoulders dropped. So I lose you. You lost me when I stopped being heard, I said. She reached out. I hear you now. I know, I replied. That's why I can go. She sat down slowly. I don't recognize you, I nodded. I finally recognized myself. She said, you're calm. I worked hard for this calm, I said. She asked, is there anything I can do? Yes, I replied. Let me leave with dignity. She covered her mouth. I never thought this would happen. I thought it every night, I said. She whispered, I'm scared. So was I replied. Every day. I picked up my bag. She asked, where will you go? Somewhere quiet, I said. Somewhere honest. She stood again. Will you miss me? I'll miss who we were, I said. Not who we became. She cried softly. I wanted more time. I wanted respect, I replied. She looked at the floor. I failed you, I said gently. We failed each other. I walked to the door. She said. Say something good. I turned. We taught each other what we won't accept again. She nodded. That hurts. Growth usually does, I said. I opened the door. She asked, Do you still love me? I paused. I don't hate you. She closed her eyes. I stepped outside and felt the air hit my face. I said out loud, I'm not running. I walked slowly, not rushed. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. I said, I don't need closure. I remembered begging, explaining, apologizing. I said, that man is gone. I stopped at the corner and breathed deeply. I felt sadness but no regret. I said, this isn't revenge. This is respect. I thought about the future, quiet mornings. Honest conversations. I smiled faintly. I said, I choose peace. I kept walking. Behind me was noise, confusion, history. Ahead of me was uncertainty, but it felt lighter. I checked my reflection in a window. I looked steady. I said, you survived. I didn't feel like a victim anymore. I felt complete. For the first time in years, I wasn't begging to be loved. I was walking toward myself. Months passed, and one morning I said, I slept well. No one answered, and that felt right. I poured coffee and said, I like this quiet. The room held it without resistance. I moved to a smaller place across town. When the landlord asked, living alone? I said, yes, and smiled. He nodded, peaceful. It is, I replied. Some days were heavy. I won't lie to myself about that. I'd sit by the window and say, you're allowed to miss memories. I never said I missed her. At work, my colleague asked, how are you really? I answered, steady. She smiled. That's new, I said. I worked for it. At night, I talked to myself instead of the ceiling. You okay? I'd ask. Yes, I'd answer. Just quiet. I learned the difference. Silence used to punish me. Now it protected me. I ran into her once at a store. She said, you look different. I replied, so do you. She asked, are you happy? I paused. I'm at peace. She nodded like she understood, but I knew she didn't. Peace isn't loud enough to explain. I walked home and said, you didn't crumble. I unpacked a box and found old photos. I said, thank you for the lesson. I didn't keep them. I threw them away gently. Some nights, regret tried to speak. I told it, you're late. Other nights, guilt knocked. I said, I forgave myself. I stopped replaying conversations. I stopped wondering what I should have said. I started asking, what do I need? The answer was always simple. Rest, honesty, time. I sat on the floor one evening and said, you survived emotional hunger. That mattered. My brother called. You sound lighter. I am, I said. He laughed. Proud of you. Me too, I replied. I learned to cook for one without sadness. I learned mornings don't need apologies. I learned love doesn't ask you to shrink. Sometimes I'd think of the drawer. The place she never looked. I smiled at the thought, not because of the papers. Because of what they gave me, a door. Not out of anger, out of clarity. I stood on my balcony one night and said, I'm not afraid of being alone. The city hummed back. I whispered, I'm not broken. I remembered the man on the couch begging for answers. I said, you did your best. I forgave him too. There was no dramatic ending. No victory speech. Just space. Room to breathe. Room to exist without explaining myself. I realized closure isn't loud. It's waking up without weight. It's not checking your phone. It's not rehearsing pain. It's choosing where your energy goes. I placed my keys down and said, home. Not the old one. This one, inside myself. I didn't win. I didn't lose. I lived. And that was enough. I survived.